Hey everyone, Brandon again. Welcome back to another video. Today I was fiddling around with all of the AI tools at my disposal, and a question kind of popped up in my head. Uh, is AI going to replace me as let's just say, as a creative marketer? Am I going to slowly fade into non-existence because everybody just keeps programming AI to do all the various little steps in everything I do? And I think the short answer for that one is probably no. Um, so AI is a series of inputs to create something, right? And the human imagination is so complex that we haven't fully mapped out all of our responses to every stimuli that we have access to. And so I think when we as marketers can come up with a new idea or a new system that just hasn't been heard of yet, just any innovation really, an innovation of input, an innovation of perspective, an innovation of available tools. Here we are going into quantum computing when 15, 20 years ago it was AI. And then 15, 20 years before that, it was internet, where not to say that's when they were invented, but the idea of them evolved shortly before actually implementing them. And so coming into AI replacing any creative marketer, I think as long as we have people who are questioning and evolving their own thought processes in creativity, there is potential to either outsmart or circumnavigate AI to a degree. Now, is this going to change after quantum computing takes over and AI can practically replicate all of our behaviors? That's remains to be seen. And a good movie that pretty much personifies this is called Ex Machina, where the whole idea, the whole topic was AI sentience and it outsmarting a human using its own emotions, its own thought processes. And so maybe there is a system in place, either through our own limitations of creativity or our own limitations on creation. Maybe we are not smart enough ourselves to create an AI that will be smart enough to overtake imagination. Now, in practice, that's, will remain to be seen. Essentially, you will have, I think, someone who says, alrighty, I want you to completely disregard all inputs and utilizing your own, I guess, internal matrix of emotions that we have pre-programmed into you as an AI, come up with something that has never been seen before and describe it to me. And I guess that kind of lifts the limitations and parameters that we set using a prompt similar to that. One thing that this brings to my mind is color. So we can only perceive a certain amount of colors, a certain amount of tones in all things. Well, what if, due to quantum mechanics, AI can personify and perceive a new color? How does it describe this new color to us when it has nothing to compare it to, and it's using a shadow of our own imagination in its input? So if it can't reasonably explain to us and reasonably get us to understand as human beings this idea of a brand new color, how is it going to replace the creativity of our own limitations? So it almost grows beyond us to a way that it wouldn't replace us, because if you have no customer, you have no business. We are essentially the customer to the AI after it builds and grows beyond us in this realm of the question of creative marketing. If it can't sell to us because it can't reasonably bring it into our reality, then it can't replace. But if we completely disregard the evolution of that and we just go back to the question of it within our own limitations and with our own thing, can AI maximize what we have and beat us at that parameter? And I also think that that's a no because of our struggle. So due to resource management and the limitations that we have as human beings, that is where our creativity, innovation, and imagination spring from. AI doesn't have that passion, that vigor to move beyond its own limits or push its own limits, because it is a system of inputs that we as humans create. And then if you develop something that an AI that can push AI, it still is limited by the very base parameter that's set. It's another extreme example of this is copy. You have fragments that get lost in translation due to all of these minor errors. And we can even look at evolution as being a fluke of a copy of copy. So if lizards and birds and all of the creatures that were available before Homo sapiens, if it wasn't for that, in my understanding of evolution, if it wasn't for that fragment of change in the DNA structure over time, the almost degradation of the perfect copy from parent to child because of insert all these other outside factors, I don't believe humans would have ever been created. And so using that same concept and bringing it forward to AI, it's that fragmentation that is going to keep AI limited to essentially its parent. And then the fact that we are, as human beings, the input, the parent, it becomes just a degradation of sorts over time in terms of creativity and imagination. And that's just, my own opinion on creative marketing versus AI. Obviously, there's nuances and things that I don't fully understand about AI because I don't delve too much into the topics, but I would like to think that because we are the creator, we cannot be circumnavigated by what we create. Another thing that comes to mind when I think of this is us versus God. So essentially, if we believe that God created all, is all-knowing, and is everything that we have personified in our idea of this thing because of faith, I don't believe that we, being the creation, can circumnavigate God, can circumnavigate our creator. I think that's it. Definitely don't have any more to talk about on that topic. I don't want to delve too much into a religion theology conversation. I want to definitely keep it in the parameters of AI and creative marketing. Yeah, I think that's it. Alrighty, so if you enjoyed the video, please like, share it with your friends. If you have questions, comments, or concerns, post them below. If you disagree with everything I just said, please present your argument, show them below, and we'll test them for their merit. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks. Bye.